for anyone, anywhere in the world to reach your company and talk with them. And I believe this trend is going to accelerate. I mean, I know we've gotten calls from Russia, India, China. I believe that the globalization of information definitely will accelerate, as I just said. First, there's tremendous potential growth in terms of internet usage globally. While more than 77% of North Americans are wired to the web, only 1 out of every 5 Asians is, and slightly more than 1/3 of the people in South America and the Caribbean are currently connected to the internet. Second, the number of cross-border investments is expected to rise. Among the most important sources of potential leads for our industry are likely to be companies from these BRIC companies that I mentioned before: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Now, over the past 10 years, these BRICS were responsible for more than a third of the total rise in the GDP worldwide. And Goldman Sachs predicts that the BRICS will become an even larger force in the world economy. Now, that of course means more opportunity for us. So consider how your company, if it is not currently, can build relations with any of these countries in the BRIC group, because they do represent opportunities. And I can tell you some personal anecdotes if you want to hear more about it later, because I know it works. And now, my late mentor, his name was Cal Druck, who was a pioneer in the PR field and president of the Public Relations Society of America nationally many years ago, often said, we have public relations whether we want them or not. High-profile individuals, companies, NGOs, governments, and individuals have a choice. Do they want to manage them, or do they not want to manage them and let the publics manage us? Today, in my opinion, there used to be a choice to some extent. Today, to me, there's no choice. The immediacy, the transparency, and the power in the internet have made it a matter of survival, which signals great potential growth for our industry. Point number 2, truthiness and the decline of trust is the second reason why I think the golden age is within reach. Now, Stephen Colbert, host of the Colbert Report, the satirical news show on Comedy Central, he coined the word truthiness to describe a truth that someone believes, but there is really no evidence, in fact, that really exists. So therefore, it could be wrong. But truthiness, in my opinion, is kind of a sloppy thinking that has been really promoted by the explosion of information and news outlets on the internet, which has enabled people to self-select the information that they want to find out about and reinforce their own beliefs. So let's be frank. Wikipedia does not equal the New York Times. Standards of veracity are different. And I'm not saying that Wikipedia is many untruths, because I think that it's got much to be said for it. But I think the standards of veracity are different on the internet. And for example, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people know, the threshold for inclusion in Wikipedia is not truth. It's verifiability, meaning that it is something that has been published somewhere else before by a, quote, reliable source. So something that is reported frequently enough is perceived as a more trustworthy fact, if you want to call it, than a simple truth that's not on the first few pages of Google. So the result, there are no more beacons of trust. US trust in business plummeted by about 8 points last year from 54 to 46%, putting the world's largest economic power within 5 points of last place Russia. Now, not surprisingly, the sector that was least trusted was financial services. Coming out of this financial crisis, that's not particularly shocking. 61% of internet users said that only half or less than half of online information is reliable, which is a new low. And this was according to the USC Annenberg School of Communications in California, their report called the Digital Future Study. Yet at the same time, respondents ranked newspapers below the internet or television. So there is a little confusion. 5 years ago, 68% of people viewed quote, a person like me, unquote, as the most credible spokesperson for a company. Last year, that number plummeted to 37%. And today, the most credible spokesperson for a company is an academic or an expert, about 64%. So trust is essential to a company's bottom line. We all know that's what business is about. And you just can't create trust. You have to earn trust. One encounter at a time, one step at a time. Every time a stakeholder has a good experience, it's like a deposit in the trust bank. Every time the stakeholder has a moderate or negative experience, it's like a withdrawal. And we need to make regular deposits in the trust bank. For agencies, for its clients, they need to consult them on that, or companies themselves who have themselves as a client. We either have a choice of doing that, or I think we risk disaster. Rebuilding trust is a skill set that defines public relations and will increase the demand for our services in the coming years. Point number 3, need for message warriors. In the third information revolution, which we're living in right now, ushered in by the rise of social media, message warriors are the foot soldiers in the campaign to capture the hearts and minds. And companies are beginning to recognize that what we've been preaching for decades is that a good name is worth more than gold. It's been said, even if every physical vestige of Coca-Cola were destroyed and there was nothing left but the name, that brand would be worth billions. And last year, for the first time, and this was pretty incredible, the very powerful and venerable investment firm Goldman Sachs provided more proof of the value of reputation, and some of you may have followed all the things they went through. The value of reputation and the work that we do in its annual report by adding, quote, adverse publicity to the list of financial risks which could potentially destroy them or that which they will be faced with and have to deal with in the coming years, which was quite an acknowledgement. What social media has irrevocably altered is really who controls the reputation. It used to be that the institution controlled its reputation. Today, it's the stakeholders. It's not what you say about yourself, although that matters, as much it is what others are saying about you and to each other. Other than that, to me, this is third-party endorsement in its finest sense, and this is the heart of what public relations is about. We've been excelling at that for years, and we are the generals that deploy armies of message warriors to preserve, protect, and enhance a company, product, or an individual's reputation. Now, our ability to analyze audiences, craft messages, and make sense and use of complex communications channels is moving the golden age closer. It's also one of the key reasons why in North America, slightly less than half of corporate communications officers now are reporting